Mark Stone talks to the media Tuesday at the VGK golf tournament and believes that those who write off this Golden Knights team are adding more motivation this season. We'll talk about that and much, much more on the way right here on this edition of Locked On Golden Knights.
You're Locked On Golden Knights, your daily podcast on the Vegas Golden Knights, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hi again, everyone. It's a Wednesday. Tony Cardasco, Chris Golick reporting from Las Vegas. Thanks for making us your first listen each and every day. You can find us wherever you get your podcast. And please subscribe to our Locked On Golden Knights YouTube channel. We are brought to you today by FanDuel. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to download America's #1 sportsbook. This is your captain speaking. This is your captain speaking.
That was the low expectations you were just talking about.
I know. You said you had high expectations.
So really fast, folks, I told Tony before we were going to start this segment, I said, I'm curious how you're going to frame this. And he said, don't have high expectations. So now I understand why he said that.
Be it in the cockpit, the Smith's parking lot for selfies, or the VGK golf tournament, wherever Mark Stone has an audience of late, he is preaching the gospel that those, in this case, the media, that write off VGK will only provide more fuel to the fire, and they will add motivation this season for VGK. So Mark Stone telling Fox 5's Vince Sapienza that he still likes the team, and he said that articles writing off VGK are good for VGK's motivation. Do you buy into what Stone is saying? Is he doubling down on that recent interview where he started to talk about this? Will this be the mantra this season? No one's respecting us, chip on the shoulder sort of thing. Is Stone saying this with conviction? And is Stone himself, is he trying to fire up his teammates? This is your captain speaking.
This is interesting. I mean, we're talking about a team who has been ranked very high over the last 5 seasons as far as power rankings go. More on that later, obviously. But why, I guess, is all of this happening? Why all of a sudden now that last season? I mean, listen, last season, you can look at one of two ways. They're obviously one or two goals away from advancing to the second round of the Western Conference playoffs, while being the number 8 seed going against a team who did pretty well in the playoffs last year, and the Dallas Stars obviously losing to the Oilers in the conference final. Or the other side, a failure of a season, a team with high expectations is a first round exits. Why? What's the reasoning here? Why is Mark Stone? This is now 2 interviews where he's alluded to people writing the team off. Gary Lawless has obviously been doing this a lot lately as well. So a couple questions that I have, I guess. Number one, is this coming from above? Is this just the planting of the seeds of the narrative, where this is a marketing push, a social media push, a push from the front office, from someone, just, hey, make sure we're talking to the media like this. Let's make sure we get everyone on the right path coming. I don't know. I don't understand why Stone is saying these things right now through the media. I don't understand why the players, maybe I'll put it pretty bluntly, I don't know why the players are putting so much concern on what the media even thinks about them. Like, I've talked to many of these players. We watch all the interviews and stuff on Twitter and social media and Instagram and everywhere else the stuff gets posted. And, I never got the feeling that the players care much for what my opinion of the team is. They don't give a damn what I think. They don't care what you think, Tony. They don't,
But they express it. They express it sometimes via.
No, they do, and that's the thing. So, but why the change
burner
now?
Accounts once in a while.
Well, the burner account, or they forget to turn off their burner. But why now? What's why going into season number 8 is all this needed? Is my question.
Because the captain might expect a little bit of turbulence along the way. That perhaps could be.
It's going to be worse than the YouTube songs.
I think he's trying to take a more of a leadership role. I think he's trying to perhaps, do you think, is this captain speak? Is he trying to set the tone for this upcoming season? I believe that is what is occurring. And when they say they don't read anything or hear anything or watch anything, they
Oh, they're
do
full of it when they say that. They're full of it when they say that.
everything. It's
Not all
all
the guys. Some of the guys turn it off. Some of the guys, I'm sure, can turn it off. Connor McDavid, I don't think he's probably ever opened Twitter and read anything as far as what the media thinks of him. I don't know. I mean, I'm just spewing here right now. I mean, we're talking Mark Stone. We're talking a 32-year-old who's been in the league now, going back obviously a long time, making nearly $10 million. I can't imagine him as the type to, get the call from person XYZ, whoever this might be, and say, here's the narrative for the season. Here's what I want you saying to the media every time you talk. I don't look at Mark Stone as a, okay, yes, sir type of person. I think if someone tells Mark Stone something that he doesn't like, he's the type that would probably be very bluntly honest about it and politely or impolitely tell you, no, this is stupid. We're not going to do this. So point being, I think Mark Stone is doing this on his own accord. I don't know if this is necessarily coming from a social media push or a book title for next season if the Golden Knights, the Stars do come together. I don't know. But I think Mark Stone is maybe, like you said, more of a leadership role, which is he's the captain. How much more does he need? Is this replacing Jonathan Marchessault's voice right now? I think is the question, not to go back and dwell on the past, but the reality is quite possibly the biggest locker room voice is gone. Is Mark Stone now basically taking over a little bit of that role that Jonathan Marchessault used to as far as being that voice?
I think he's also, along the way, I believe that he is setting the expectations for all of the new players.
I like
these guys.
No, I like that. From that perspective, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. If this is if someone like Holtz or Olofsson or Tanner Pearson or a Brendan Brisson, who's obviously coming up through the ranks right now, if they're just happen to go through social media and all of a sudden they land on Mark Stone, saying these things, it does give them a little bit of motivation. It does. So I'm buying Mark Stone's comments that they're genuine and coming from him. And listen, nothing better than a pissed off Mark Stone coming into camp with a chip on his shoulder. Nothing better for the Golden Knights than Mark Stone, a Stanley Cup winner, many accolades, obviously does very well financially. Nothing better than someone like that setting the tone of, hey, the candle still burns pretty well for us wanting to be successful. It's going to start with me, and just watch what I do and follow.
I believe he is. He's talking to the new players, new additions of this squad. He really likes these guys, and he said our motivation never changes. We've got some new blood that they want to win, and they want to win as well. And he said he's excited with what we have got. I hate that bad English, of course, but that's what he said. I'm excited with what we've got.
I mean, he's setting the table. He's setting the tone right now, and I'd be curious to see what kind of training camp he has if he's throwing his body around a little bit. Mark Stone, obviously, someone who's, this is not an LTAR comment by any means, but 32-year-old doesn't need to be out there, bumping and grinding in the preseason. Although we remember that hit he took last year, courtesy of one Hayden Hodgson that caused absolute mayhem in a preseason game last year. So spicy Mark Stone. We're gonna get spicy Mark Stone this year. Someone on social media, I forgot who said it. They said sassy Mark Stone. I like any one of those. And like I said earlier, a pissed off Mark Stone with a chip on his shoulder, it's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing.
Anything else come out of that golf tournament yesterday other than some long drives or any other quotes that came out of the golf tournament?
You're saying this like I was paying really close attention to it, and B, I was there, and neither are true. Although last year I was there, and I got the gem of a quote from Keegan Colasar about I said, hey, are you getting addicted to the confetti? Obviously this was after their Stanley Cup championship, and he said no, he's addicted to the beer. So I wasn't there to get one of those
beer and burritos, flying burrito brother. No, didn't you tell me earlier something about Cassidy said something about Colasar being in a leadership
I gotta go back. I was looking for it before we went on.
To walk you into that.
No, I couldn't find it. No, you did. Okay. No. Admittedly, I was pouring my coffee this morning, or my second cup, and I see on the TV behind me that they're talking about the golf tournament. I think it was Vince, like you said, from Fox, Vince Sapienza, and it was Cassidy talking, and I heard him talking about like leadership and veterans and things like that. and I looked over my shoulder and saw they were showing Keegan Colasar. So I don't know what the quote was, so I'm not going to take it down the wrong path until I verify here. I was trying to find it earlier. It's not up yet on Twitter, but point being is he was talking about, I think, veterans taking on more of a leadership role. I don't know if he said Colasar singularly, but if he did, remember, I said that twice last week. Colasar is going to grow into a leadership role with the Golden Knights. Doesn't mean he's going to wear a letter. He's just going to be looked at as a locker room leader for how he portrays himself on and off the ice with this team.
I believe that they should do like this little feature that goes on social media once a week, Smith's parking lot, and Mark Stone continues to address everyone and tries to motivate his teammates.
When did Mark Stone ever do? Did Mark Stone ever do a Smith's interview? Like, where did this come from, Tony?
So remember
the parking lot, the pictures, the selfies from the fans.
The selfies in the Smith's parking lot,
and you're just snowballing this and running with it and making the snowball bigger and bigger and bigger. Yeah, okay.
What do you think I do on this show? I mean, I'm not
exactly
a
this.
I'm not a journalist. I'm definitely not a journalist. I'm not an entertainer. Coming up next, the Vegas Golden Knights rank third in Bleacher Report's power rankings over the past 5 seasons. Details next on this edition of Locked On Golden Knights. You've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel. It's America's #1 sports book. Well, we have a little something different for you. Now through September the 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then, with a YouTube television base plan, you are able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out of town, out of market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel at any time. And don't forget, this week, it's a big week, week number 1 of the National Football League. At least they don't call this week 0 like college football. But we do have week 1, and we do have the Raiders at the Chargers. I'm intrigued to see how this game shakes out. It's always more or less, it's a Raiders home game there at SoFi, and the Raiders are a 3-point underdog as they get the season started. And you could check out all the odds, lines, props, and much, much more. So visit FanDuel. Go to FanDuel.com/lockedon to download America's #1 sportsbook. Back on this edition of Locked On Golden Knights, Tony Cardasco, Chris Golick from Las Vegas. We appreciate you making us your first listen each and every day. You can find us wherever you get your podcast. And then again, on Fridays, we have WTF, What the Friday. And that's when we take all of your comments if you are new to the show, as many of you are. And then on Saturdays, sometimes you've got the Chris Jr. show. The season premiere, I believe, will be coming up pretty soon. I think it's coming up soon. I can feel it in the air tonight.
Another song title. Great. Good job.
Yeah, I'm working on that. The Bleacher Report list of power rankings is not for the upcoming season, but for the previous 5 seasons. And it's based on points for winning the Stanley Cup, losing in the Cup final, winning the President's Trophy. You get points there, 5 points for winning the President's Trophy.
There's actually a point system for this, really?
Yeah. Making the playoffs, you get a point. VGK ranked 3rd in their standings behind the last 5 seasons. So this talks to the strength of this organization behind Tampa and Florida. And Florida just piled up points the last 2 seasons, of course, winning the Stanley Cup, and then they've also won the conference finals the last 2 years, and we're in the Cup final 2 seasons ago. So this is a good barometer of how strong, watch yourself, Cardasco, of how strong this organization was, past tense. Because right now, though, seriously, they have a lot to prove this upcoming season.
Yeah, a lot to prove, Tony, but they still have a core that half the league would take in a heartbeat, and which is better than their current situation. So, I don't know. We're not going to talk about the past tense for the upcoming season until we know what the upcoming season is. I mean, that's a little premature, I think. But reacting to this here, so Tampa, yeah, I mean, obviously 2 Stanley Cup championships, Florida Panthers conference, and then obviously the Stanley Cup winner, Vegas, yeah, Colorado, and then obviously now you have your non-Stanley Cup winners, Dallas, Rangers, Hurricanes, Bruins, Oilers, and the Islanders. I mean, it's just a reminder, like, you still got to pinch yourself with this team here, and I'll definitely take the fan approach for a few minutes here. Season number 8, again, we're talking 3 Pacific Division championships, 2 conference championships, a Stanley Cup. Only one of those first 7 seasons, the team does not end up making the playoffs. This is a situation that, as a sports fan, that you would absolutely live for. This is the God, terrible pun coming. This is the golden years, so to speak, for a lot of organizations, what the Golden Knights have gone for. And the Stanley Cup window is still open. Like, I'm not going to say past tense like Tony just did, because we got to wait and see how this season goes. Even if this season does not go favorably, the Stanley Cup window remains open for 2 to 4 more seasons, depending on how things shake out and what path McCrimmon takes. Basically, does he decide to pull the plug to, make some deals and, get some youth down the road? Who knows when that's going to happen, but it's not happening today or tomorrow or the following year. And just to, I guess, kind of triple down on my statement here, there are 20 teams, 15, 17 teams in the NHL and fan bases as well who would trade positions with the Vegas Golden Knights in a heartbeat. You go like with what Toronto's been through, Buffalo, San Jose. I mean, we can go on and on, a list of organizations that have not had either a recent Stanley Cup or, some of their biggest accolades happened back when TVs were black and whites. Not that bad. But point being is, this is an amazing run that the Golden Knights are on. Obviously, we're going to look at a 5-year perspective. I'm taking more of the totality of the organization right now. And it's going to be at least a decade run of very good hockey, which is amazing. You don't get this in sports. You don't get this too often. People in Vegas might not understand that, at least the newer hockey fans, but this is not how it's supposed to go, folks. I promise you, this is not how it's supposed to go.
Yeah, and you remember when Bill Foley said that he was going to give William Karlsson like 3 or 4 cups? Do you remember that? I remember. It was another Vince Sapienza interview that dated back here, 3 years ago or so. They'll never trade that guy. Okay, so teams receive the following points. So I will put you on the spot, Mr. Golick, and ask you for a prediction of how many total points VGK will get this season. So you get 7 points to win a Stanley Cup.
Oh, God. Okay.
No? Yes or no?
Wait, hold on.
I'm putting you on the spot. 7
right,
points.
Do I have to write down, you're telling me how their points rankings work, right?
Yeah, well,
I'm writing this down. I'm going to write all this down.
Putting you on the spot, bro. Okay.
7
so
for
to win
the
Stanley Cup, you get 7 points.
Okay.
Will they win the Stanley Cup? No. Okay,
but
so
give
no
me all the points.
There.
Give me all the points, and I'll give you a number. Give me all the categories. I'll give it to you.
We're going down the list. This is how we're going to work it, man. Bro,
okay.
Come on, man.
Okay, I'll follow you.
Lose the Stanley Cup final, 6 points. Is that going to happen? No points there. Will they win the President's Trophy? That's 5 points. No. Will they lose the conference final? 4 points.
No.
Will they win the regular season division title?
No.
That's 3 points. Will they win a playoff series? You get 2 points.
Yes.
Yes, I said yes to. Will they make the playoffs? That's 1 point. So I have 3 points.
Yeah, 3 points is good.
Okay, that's fair.
3 points is very fair right now. And again, this is a different team. This is a different situation.
I think we're being very honest here.
No, this is acknowledging the reality of coming into the season. Now, again, the formula, my 19th time probably in the last 2 episodes talking about this.
It could change.
It could definitely change in a heartbeat. It could change in a heartbeat. But right now, if the Golden Knights can do a little better than tread water, comfortably in the playoffs until the 4 nations face off. If they're comfortably in the playoffs, obviously health, there's so many things but point being is they are
American Thanksgiving, bro.
No, we're pushing farther out this year. That just starts the middle third, Tony, which we're both concerned about right now. A little bit later than that. But point being is Treadwater, top three comfortably in the Pacific until February the 8th. That's, I think, when the pause begins for 2 weeks. They come back on the 24th, trade deadline sometime in early March. But get to the Four Nations healthy, get there in the top three in the Pacific. Hopefully some of the newer guys are clicking. Chemistry buzzword. Hopefully the chemistry is finally realized. And then that's when McCrimmon's going to go to work and add the one or even two or heck, maybe three pieces. Where they come from, I don't know it. Fine, Mark Stone, LTIR. People are going to say that. Go right ahead. I'm not going to argue with you because it's happened for the last few seasons. Trades, Shea Theodore. Who knows? Who knows?
It's definitely a tradition now.
I mean, yeah, I think
last
it's a
year,
no. It's a dynasty, Tony. It's happened 3 times to be a dynasty. We don't have the third time yet.
So okay, back to Smiths. So last year, of course, Stone was on the LTIR, and we started to see supermarket photos that cropped up around the city. So the missus had him out doing the shopping. He's carrying the ham, and he's carrying. Do they sell poutine there at Smith's? I don't know. Whatever, Canadian, some Canadian bacon. I don't know what was in the bag. In any event, they started to take the selfies, and that's when we knew that Mark Stone was on his way back because he was healthy enough to carry all the groceries. So that's how we knew. That's the barometer. That's where
we're living his life, and here you are just.
No, that was great though. Remember last year, all those photos? It was kind of funny.
And you found it because you follow his wife on Instagram, probably.
Yes, absolutely. Coming up next, for the Edmonton Oilers, as Elvis once said, it's now or never. After paying a boatload of money to one of their superstars, and that is Leon Draisaitl. We'll talk about that when we return right here on this edition of Locked On Golden Knights. Back on Locked On Golden Knights, Tony Cardasco, Chris Golick from Las Vegas. Thanks for making us your first listen. For your second listen, you might want to enjoy Locked On NHL podcast. It provides a national perspective of all things National Hockey League each and every day, and you could download it on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. And Chris, WTF this week? I know you're loading up there. I see you taking little copious notes. No, we're both on the same page about 3 points for VGK in the power rankings.
It's empty.
Shut up, Tony.
No, it's empty. I'm not taking any notes. I was writing down the notes for the point rankings earlier.
Okay, you got. I walked you through the entire process there.
You did.
Process. Yeah, that was okay. So the Oilers gave Leon Draisaitl an extension of $14 million a year times 8 years. We realize that the salary cap will continue to rise. I think you and I both agreed. I was looking for my sticky last night, and the napkin, I think I wiped my face with it. That I had the notes on there. But in any event, I think we both kind of felt that the extension would be for about $13 million a year. Is that where we were at?
13. So, I don't remember. I don't know if we put a number out there, but that's a fair ballpark.
So term and salary AAV are big, and the future of this team could be at risk.
I mean, I don't know about saying the future of the team is at risk. We're talking about this team that still has that McDavid and Draisaitl dude, which are both pretty good, and it's going to be that way for a while.
Didn't Draisaitl say, "I like this team. I like this team still"?
A quote came out which I thought was kind of ridiculous. I forgot who the broadcaster was that put it out there, but saying that Leon Draisaitl is buying into the fact that they're going to be competitive for a long time, which is why he decided to sign this contract. No, it's $14 million that ends in 22-23, and it's an amazing contract. That's why he took it. I don't think he's not signing that contract anywhere, but whatever to that. So a few things here, I guess, to talk about. Number one, what is McDavid's next contract going to be? I think that's obviously the first question. It's got to be at least a $15 million AAV. I don't think it's any less than $15 million AAV. Maybe
and that could they're going to start it's not a contract year, but he could, as of July the 1st, he could sign an extension for the following season. That'll be the contract year in a year.
Exactly here, and I guess the biggest question right now that that you're asking is, Connor McDavid. Let's just pretend they're both the same AAV, McDavid and Draisaitl. We'll just say they're both 14 million AAV. First of all, McDavid at 14 million AAV, I will take that in a heartbeat. Obviously, McDavid's the best in the world. End of story. No discussion whatsoever. Draisaitl is a really good hockey player. Would McDavid be better without Draisaitl than Draisaitl would be without McDavid? I think that's obviously a question that many people would ask. Number one, I think McDavid obviously is the better of those two.
Sure.
So the question that Edmonton, I guess, and the fans might wonder is, would they be better off with 3 players that are in that $4 to $5 million range? Like, just talking about forwards for a second, would you rather have 3 players who can Jonathan Marchessault outputs 25, 28 goals for the next, 6 years, call it? Or you're banking on this massive Draisaitl situation for his 60 goals and 100 assists and 40, whatever his point total is going to be, 120s, 130s, whatever it's going to be. What's better for the team? 3 players that can get you to maybe 200 points, or 1 player that can get you to 110 points that tomorrow could get his ACL torn and he's gone for the year? We don't want that to happen to any player. I don't care what the situation is, but the reality is that's so much, all the eggs in one basket, whatever terminology you want to go for here. It's and you look at Toronto. How successful has Toronto been with a top heavy salary situation? The answer is not very successful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I know Draisaitl was even quoted as saying, "Hey, not very many teams have won it with a 2-man or 3-man roster." So it's pretty interesting that he would come out and say that. Draisaitl goes from $8.5 million to $14.5 million. So that is a quantum leap. And I found it interesting that 104, someone reported this yesterday, $104 million of Draisaitl's $112 million will be paid in bonuses. So his salary actually will be just $1 million a year starting in 2025-26.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know exactly how all of that's going to be shaking out here, but that's certainly something
that will be perhaps something to do with the tax structure in Canada.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's obvious. Like I said, that's someone that they can look at all, like the Seth Jarvis situation. I mean,
So does $1 million, fans might ask, does just $1 million go towards the salary cap?
No. AAV is pretty fixed. No, it's AAV is pretty fixed. There's some small things you can do to, like, someone said something about the Seth Jarvis deal, the way it might save him a couple $100,000 a year, but the lion's share of that is loaded in AAV on an average basis, regardless of when Draisaitl is getting the money. Like the Marchessault contract, Marchessault was upset by the pay structure in which the timing he would have received his payment from the Golden Knights, but it still would have been.
Why don't they just pay Marchessault? Why don't they just give him that bag? It wasn't much. Give him the term. Who cares?
I mean, just looking at somewhere $5 million, Phil Deneau, Sean Monahan, Zach Hyman. There you go. I mean, Zach Hyman, he had a huge year. Kuzmenko, who's been a point per game player, is in $5 million. Jaden Swartz, DeBrusque, Konechny, Adrian Kempe, Marchessault. There he is right there. Teuvo Teravainen, like three Teuvo Teravainens or 1 Leon Draisaitl. I mean, I know you're talking 2 very different situations, but you're also talking a team that already has that superstar. It's not like Draisaitl is the man. All right, he's not the man in Edmonton. He's not. It's Connor McDavid. End of story. Now, Draisaitl going somewhere else and being the man, that's a different story. But you got the man in McDavid. Do you need 2 players like that, or do you need depth? And I think the answer is depth. They got lucky with Stuart Skinner last year. Stuart Skinner wasn't supposed to have this year. Maybe this is who Stuart Skinner is, a fair goaltender who makes his layups and can obviously help a team win a Stanley Cup when it's the right situation in front of him. I don't know. But I mean, just other $5 million players here, Joel Eriksson, Jacob Verana, Charlie Coyle. We're talking some defensemen. Shea Theodore. I mean, how bad can a team like Edmonton use a Shea Theodore who can play on both ends of the ice? $5 million, So any of these 3 players here, from this list of $5 to $6 million players here, would that be better than what they currently have up there in Edmonton? Good question. The formula with Draisaitl and McDavid has not worked yet. There you go.
So the big question is, and I like this terminology, unlike like on every college football game that I've watched this season, all they talk about now, the new buzzword is complementary football. It's complementary football. If they say that one more time, I'm going to lose it. But
Okay, what does
I
that
do
mean,
like
Tony? What does that mean? Is that depth?
exactly. Yeah. No, well, it's all three phases of the game starting to click. Complimentary, bro. Like we don't know about that on this show being complimentary because we're not complimentary. However, the term that they use now, the contention window, you're going to hear this a ton. Is the contention window closing? Is it closing on the Edmonton Oilers? Is it truly now or never, as Elvis once said?
I mean, listen, as long as you have McDavid and Draisaitl on your roster, at least for the next, I mean, McDavid's 27, Draisaitl's 28. 6 years, they're going to be world-class 100-point players, no questions asked, maybe even still a little bit longer. So for the next 6 seasons, they do have a Stanley Cup window. Now,
there's pressure, man.
It's a different set of circumstances, though. That's the thing. It's a different set of circumstances where a Stanley Cup is now like it's one thing. Okay, McDavid comes in the league. He's a rookie, getting better. Boom, world-class player. Okay, here's Draisaitl. And now if you're an Edmonton Oilers fan, how cheated would you feel, especially if you were around in the Gretzky era and everything and went through all of that? But how cheated would you feel as a fan if you did not get to see McDavid and Draisaitl hoist a Stanley Cup in that time? That's a waste. I'm sorry. That is a waste. And they've had other like high ranked draft picks along the way. Taylor Hall, I would say not a complete bust, but point being is there's been other high draft picks around this time too for Edmonton. And you know, it's a shame. I mean, it'd be like watching, for me, Michael Jordan never winning an NBA, championship. Obviously, I was fortunate enough to see that whole situation play out 6 times in my childhood, which was absolutely amazing to see. It should have been 9 in a row if he wouldn't have been gambling and suspended by the NBA for a little bit there. But whatever.
It's not WTF. It's not WTF. I know.
Yeah. So point being is, the hope is Edmonton wins a cup. I hope Edmonton wins a cup. I'll still say that because it would be an absolute waste of a career if McDavid does not get a Stanley Cup. End of story. It'd be a waste. Does McDavid still sign this contract? Like, who knows? Like the Draisaitl,
he'll sign it. And Draisaitl did say, he's got to do what he's got to do for himself.
Whatever. Sure, absolutely. For himself and for the NHL. It's for both. It's for both.
$12.5 million is the salary currently. You're going to put all your eggs in the basket of 2 players. To me, that's definitely risky.
Yeah, and I mean,
the contention window could be dwindling.
Here's the anchor. I mean, there is a big anchor dragging this team down, and in the form of Darnell Nurse, who is signed through 29-30 at $9.25 million.
They can't unload him. I think they tried.
No, it's going to take probably a 75% contract retention, 50% from Edmonton. They make some other trades, and whatever the situation is. And would you rather pay Darnell Nurse $5 million to play against you, or $9 million to play for you? I mean, it's like trying to choose between lethal injection and the electric chair.
I want his agent, man. Yeah, they definitely secured.
Who's the agent? Hold on, let's click. Let's find out who the agent is here. This is
it's going to be
signed by Ken Holland. Oh, come on, who's his agent?
It's going to be Prasad. It's got to be. So we appreciate everyone tuning in. Thank you so much.
Drag this out for 15 seconds. You can do it, Tony. Hold on. You can do it.
Especially our everydayers. Don't forget on Fridays, it's WTF on a real bad impression of your captain speaking today, by the way. And then on Saturday.
Sounds like a microphone every day, Tony.
Saturdays, sometimes we've got the Chris and Chris Jr. show.
Paul Capizano. Capizano.
I'm going to send him a little note today. I need him to get me more basketball announcing jobs. I don't have enough. There's only like 100 games I'm doing.
He'll have you announcing for an NBA team by the end of the week, Tony.
I want to know. My lifetime goal is to be the play-by-play announcer for Medicine Hat, whatever the nickname of that team is.
Cortex Hockey. This dude is.
I don't know what's going on. Who's that? What's Cortex? That
Cortex looks like Patrice Bergeron. He's had.
Okay. Again, thanks so much for tuning in, and make sure that you download everything that we provide. Find us
61 players.
podcast
Bull Duke, TJ.
and, of
William
course,
Carrier,
subscribe
Tony. William Carrier. There we go.
to our YouTube channel.
Hold
From a
on.
man,
See, any
Chris
more
Golick,
Vegas Golden Knights here? Maybe we'll get them in here. Hold on. I'm still looking. I'm not
from a
done
man,
yet.
Chris Golick,
We're only
I am
5 minutes over,
Cardasco.
Tony. We got plenty of time. Okay, no more. Now you can go.
I'm Tony Cardasco. We appreciate you tuning in. See you tomorrow right here on Locked On Golden Knights, and please take care.